I'm Becky Meagher, and welcome to Transitions, Body, Mind, Spirit. Transitions, we have so many different transitions in our life, so many things. We start in kindergarten, we think we're going to do this, and the fireman or the nurse, and then life happens. And I like to use the metaphor of triathlons, which I do. I did 3 this past summer. And in a triathlon, there you are, and the first thing you do is swim. And then you finish the swim, and then you get transition again, and then get on your bicycle. And then you finish that and transition again, and then run. So it's a great metaphor for how do we change from one thing to another as we age, as circumstances happen. Today, we have an amazing person, Cato, who I was thinking he was I nicknamed him the czar of nonprofits in Nashville, Tennessee. An amazing person who currently, his newish job is CEO of the, what are we saying? We're going to call it the Community Foundation. Yes. And we're going to learn how he became this amazing person from day one, living in Nashville, being raised in Nashville. So welcome, Hal.
Thank you.
Glad you're here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yes. Okay, well, we have 28 minutes to combine an amazing lifetime.
Yeah.
So tell us about where you first started in Nashville as a kid. Mm-hmm. You went to school and high school at...
Yeah, so grew up in Nashville. I was that kid in the 70s who'd get on his bike and ride everywhere, and no one worried about it. As a matter of fact, your mom didn't want to see you during the day. Leave the house and come back later on. So grew up in the Westmead area in Nashville. Started at Palmer School before they tore Palmer down, and it's now a park.
Wow.
And then I went from there to FRA and MBA and FRA and kind of hopped around. But yeah, I've been rooted in Nashville, driving around this community my whole life.
Wow. And MBA is?
Montgomery Bell Academy.
Okay, because there's an audience that doesn't know what all these things are. Yeah. Okay, Montgomery Bell Academy. All right, so there you are, normal kid, feeling a little outside of things, but you finished high school and then decided to go to college at?
Yeah, so I left Nashville, went to University of Mississippi.
Ole Miss.
Down in Oxford, Ole Miss, yeah, and that was, there was a different world back then. Now kids are supposed to apply to dozens of colleges, and you've got your list, and you've got your first choice. We didn't have any of that. I think I applied to 2. Oh. And I ended up at Ole Miss because I had friends and family who went there, and I thought Oxford was a cool little town, which it is, and it just spoke to me, so that's how I ended up there.
Wow, and then you got a degree in journalism?
Yeah, I had a double major in business and journalism. I always enjoyed writing. I thought it would lead to a career in advertising one day, or marketing, or something creative. And I came back and wasn't able to find a job in that space, at least one that was going to pay me enough to live. Yeah, and ended up coming back to Nashville and landing in the commercial real estate business of all places.
Wow, and that was not something that your aim was, I want to go into commercial real estate.
Not at all, not at all.
Okay.
Not at all. But it was a job, and I needed a job. And that first job, it's it's hard. It's always the hardest one to get. But it was exciting for me because I got to work in the heart of downtown Nashville, and I was helping manage and lease office space, and that was Nashville's sort of first period of growth, where we started attracting attention nationally and internationally, companies moving here.
Before it was the IT City.
Way before it was the IT City.
Before.
No, we're talking, 1991. So yeah, okay. I think we hit the IT City status in like 2015, 16, something like that. So yeah, long difference.
So you're doing commercial real estate in the heart of downtown. Not so bad. It wasn't on your list, but you're doing it.
Yeah.
And then something about you started helping people with Meals on Wheels?
Yeah, so I was, I don't know where it came from, because I didn't grow up in a household full of volunteers. It wasn't something expected. We didn't have to volunteer in high school, but I liked just knew I liked helping other people, and particularly seniors. I was really, really close to my grandmother growing up, and when I lost her in college, that was a huge hole in my heart. And so I decided, okay, my job's really not feeding my soul. What can? So I thought, seniors, I like seniors, so why don't you deliver Meals on Wheels? So I started doing Meals on Wheels several days a week and just loved it. I absolutely loved it. And I had this same route, and I got to know the folks on that route, and ended up spending holidays with some of them. But
wow,
more importantly,
you really got to know these
yeah,
people.
yeah. It wasn't just a transaction. It was a, let me hear about you. And I was always late. You know, that 40-minute delivery was always 2 hours. Oh. But my friends heard me talking about it, and so I started recruiting them to deliver meals. And before I knew it, I was coordinating a Meals on Wheels routes, my own little mini coordinator. And about that time, I heard of an organization called Hands on Atlanta that was just starting up. That's the mission was, how do you help busy young working people connect with volunteer opportunities during lunch hour and evenings and weekends? You know, flexible volunteerism, which was kind of a new thing at the time, because at the point, you know, volunteers, you were either a senior citizen or a junior leaguer. You know, most working people, there was no time. You didn't have a job.
Right.
And so I got fascinated by that model, and I drove down to Atlanta. I just called them and said, can I come down and see you guys? And I went down there, and it spoke to me immediately, and I said, I'm going to do this in Nashville. So that one little Meals on Wheels route turned into, you know, Hands on Nashville, which is still going strong today. And that
explain what Hands on Nashville
Hands on Nashville connects people with volunteer opportunities in the community. And you can, if you're interested in getting involved in this city, but you don't really know where to start, you can go to their website. And what do you enjoy? Do you like animals? Do you like working with children? Do you like seniors? Do you like gardening and environment? What do you like? And there's a calendar full of options in those categories, and you can look and see, hey, there's a gardening project with young people next Saturday morning. I'd like to sign up for that. That sounds interesting, and you just sign up. So it's a menu. It's like an open table for volunteerism, you know. And so it's been a great program, and sort of something I've been very proud of for it's 33 years ago we started.
33 years, wow. And I think that particularly they were on the map when from flooding to tornadoes.
Yeah, in 2010, I mean, it really put them on the map big time when Nashville flooded, and they became they coordinated that whole response for the city, and yeah.
Wow.
It's pretty amazing.
And then you were not a paid person.
No, it was all volunteer. I never drew a paycheck. I didn't know what a nonprofit was. You know, I learned. But I never drew a paycheck from it. It was just always on the side, you know.
Okay. All right. So it's a passion of yours. You helped start it, and you didn't even. And meanwhile, you're making a living, and you leave the world of commercial real estate. Yeah. And then.
So then I went. Yeah. So I loved your intro about transitions, because, gosh, I've had a lot of transitions in my life. So I went from commercial real estate. I made a connection with a woman who was starting a company, and the purpose of the company was to build on-site child care centers for big employers. Really focusing on hospitals at the time. We were trying to address the nursing shortage by creating child care for nurses. So that really fascinated me, and I loved the concept because it was a business, but there's also a social impact at the same time. And so I convinced her to hire me, and I got in there kind of early on in that, and led business development for a decade. And it grew and it grew and it grew, and had contracts in 50 states, and I traveled a ton. And I've traveled internationally, and it went public in 96, 97, and then was acquired in 98, 99 by, it's now called Bright Horizons. It's based in Boston. It's the largest child care company in the world.
Wow.
And so they're publicly traded, doing great. I'm really proud of the work that I did there. Even included almost 3 years in London.
Yes.
Overseeing international development of centers in the UK and Ireland. So that was that was a big transition. That was.
What was that like?
And for,
being
well,
in-
it was for me. I tell you what I loved about Bright Horizons was
Yeah.
it helped me see that there can be an intersection between doing well and doing good. You don't. The two don't have to be mutually exclusive. We created a successful, thriving company based on meeting a need that working parents had.
There you go. Yes, and to go not only all across America, but also in part of Europe. It's pretty amazing, and it's still going on today. And but for you to be the developing person because this was a startup, right? This was starting from zero.
So yeah, there was no. I mean, yeah. So it was. Yes, it was quite a ride.
Yes, and would you say it was joyous doing this?
100%.
Wow.
I
And
loved
then-
it. I love the people I worked with. You know,
Uh-huh.
people. That's almost all of it. Is who you work with. Do you really love them and you enjoy them, and do you learn from them and do you trust them, and you know, do you? It's just so that was there, and it was a great culture, and I really loved all of it. But then, you know, I knew it was time to move on.
Because what was the little?
I was living in London. I was, you know, it was time to come back to the U.S. And I decided, okay, what do I want to do when I go back? And, you know, Hal, which brought you the greatest joy. Yes, the job was great, but the nonprofit work I did on the side was always what fed me. You know, not my paycheck fed me, but fed me as a person and as a spiritually and emotionally and mentally and all of that. So I thought, I'm going to go take that from the side to the full time. And I got a call from a foundation leader. I was still in London at the time, who's a good friend of mine. He ran the HCA and Frisch Foundation, and said there's this nonprofit organization called the Oasis Center. They're looking for an executive director. Is it something you'd be interested in? We heard you're moving back to the States and you thought you'd be perfect for it. And I was familiar with Oasis Center. I'd done volunteer work with Oasis Center. I certainly could identify with the struggles of being a teenager that doesn't, you know, feel like they fit in or they belong or all of that.
Because you felt that way too.
I felt that way too growing up. So why not? Let's do this. You know, let's do it. So that was my first paid nonprofit gig. You know, and that started in 2001. So yeah, so 91, I started my first nonprofit, Hands on Nashville. 2001, I've switched over to the sector as my full-time career, and I've been there almost ever since.
Wow, and getting paid for it. And the Oasis Center, I know we could do a whole show on that as it is, but you took over and changed things and broadened things.
I did, yeah. Oasis Center works with young people, you know, who are struggling, and you know, whether it's homelessness and poverty, whether they're in a school that's not meeting their needs, you go on and on and on. But it is for young people. We used to say who need help and who want to help. But I was able to come in and see. I love going in and being able to look and see potential where others see problems. And I saw a lot of opportunity for Oasis Center to do things that it wasn't doing, and in partnership with other organizations. And I think my favorite thing I ever did there was when we were out of space and we needed a new building, but I knew that we didn't have the wherewithal to do a capital campaign on our own. I also had friends who were leading other youth-serving organizations that needed space too. So I went around, we started having conversations. I was like, what if we all became roommates? What if we launched a joint campaign and we brought 5 or 6 nonprofits that work with the same population under one roof, kind of shared the bills, you know, but more importantly, it was one doorway where if you're a young person, you can get counseling, residential support, college access, and financial assistance, mentoring, on and on and on.
One-stop shopping.
Oh, one-stop shop, yeah. Nobody had ever done that. I know, it seems like such an obvious thing, but nobody had ever done it because nonprofits generally live in silos. And, you know, we'll go and we'll have lunch and we'll show up at different events, but then we go back to our silo. And I like to think I'm a silo buster.
Yeah, I'd say so. So you ended up finding a place that everybody bought, and then you put like 5 different nonprofits
Yeah,
in
we
one
went. It
building?
was an old warehouse on Charlotte Pike that was been abandoned. You know, you would never find that today. I mean, those properties are long gone in the Nashville of 2023. But at the time, Charlotte was still, you know, the wrong part of town
Right.
for a lot of people. So we found it. We raised about $7.5 million, renovated this beautiful new building, and it's still there and thriving and doing great.
Wow, wow. And then still the kids are able to get, like you said, counseling and all these things, and they can just go to the Oasis Center and then plug into all these different
Yeah,
things.
and we called it the Youth Opportunity Center because that's what it's about. You know,
Youth
it's not about
opportunity.
Oasis Center. As a matter of fact, I remember telling the board, if we try to call this the Oasis Center, the project's not going to work because it's a collaboration. You know, there's no agency in there more important than the other. We're all doing important work. But at the end of the day, we're about creating opportunity for youth. So let's call it the Youth Opportunity Center. So that's the name.
That's the name.
Yeah.
And that takes ego out of it. Well, Oasis Center needs this, and we need, you know, it's like collaboration. That's a
Yeah.
beautiful thing.
Yeah, no, ego is a collaboration buster. And
Right.
so I'm a big, big, big believer. Collaboration depends on 3 things: humility, trust, and a shared vision.
Yes.
And if you can bring those 3 things, I call it my golden triangle. If you can bring humility, trust, and shared vision to the table, there's no limit to what can happen. But if one of those things is gone, it'll fall apart.
Right, right. Particularly the trust thing. Yes.
Trust is everything.
Yes.
You know, change happens at the speed of trust, and if trust is not in the room, you're not going to move forward.
I just heard that change happens at the speed of trust.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just heard that on the radio yesterday. Yeah, amazing. Wow. So what a great thing that you helped put together with this team. You have the center, and then I know something tells you it's time to leave.
Yeah, that little ping, you hear that voice within. And it is the voice within that tells you, okay, it's time to move on. And I think it's really important that leaders know when it's time to dismount. And to say, I've done what I needed to do. Yes, I could stay and keep on, but is that the best thing for the staff and the mission? And I think it's important. I mean, transition is important, and knowing when to move on, just like knowing when it's time to leave a party. You need to know when it's time to move on, and I knew. And so I left the Oasis Center after 11 years. I went and decided to start a software company.
Right.
Yeah, so I did that. That was just crazy, but it was rooted in a recognition that young people who need access to college counseling and supports weren't getting it because average school has a ratio of about 1 counselor for 300 students.
Sure.
So I thought I'm going to develop an app that helps streamline that and helps college counselors better know the needs of their students. So raised some money, started building this app, and it was great. People started using it, but no one would pay for it. So, which is a problem, you know. And so again, pivot, and I ended up seeing, there may not be a market, a customer base in education for this, but after talking to friends, there is an opportunity in healthcare to use that same technology to help hospitals communicate with their staff. And we did it, and we pivoted, and it saved the company, but it lost the what was special for me, because I went into this thinking I'm going to start a company that helps students get to college, not hospitals communicate with doctors.
Oh, that's really different.
That's a big gap. And so there was a company up in DC that really liked what we had built. They acquired it. It was a win for my investors who got return on their investment. Employees building the platform had new jobs. Hal can exit stage left and go do what he needs to do, and that was again transition number 4 for me, and to being the new and the first CEO that Thistle Farms had ever had.
Right, because Thistle Farms, from building software and back in the nonprofit. Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
So Thistle Farms, yes. Tell us the quick thing for somebody who doesn't know. What is Thistle Farms?
Thistle Farms gives women survivors of trafficking and prostitution addiction a second chance at life. through 2 years of an amazing residential recovery program where they can live at no cost and have all their needs covered. But that also, as part of that, is employment. I mean, you can help a woman heal emotionally and physically and spiritually and mentally, but if you can't help her heal financially, when she completes that program, she's going to be just as vulnerable as she was before. So we have a series of social enterprises where you make candles and soaps and lotions and products that the women make and that they sell and that the money supports the program, but also a pretty cool cafe that you've probably been to and a gift shop.
Charlotte.
On Charlotte, yeah.
Yes.
Back on Charlotte. Oasis Center was on Charlotte
Yes.
and Thistle Farms was on Charlotte. So I went there. Gosh, and that was probably one of the best jobs I've ever had in my life because I went there and I just fell in love with the women. And it was an opportunity for them to have a caring male that most of them have never had a caring man. And the men who look like me just abused them. And so to have one show up, white guy, middle-aged white guy, I look like everybody that had just only harmed them. And so it was a minute. I knew it was going to take a while. So I spent my first year there building trust. Because change happens at the speed of trust. And I knew a lot needed to change, but if I had tried to change it in year one, it would have not gone well.
All the resistance.
All the resistance. Who does he think he is coming in here? He doesn't know better. All that stuff, and I get it. And so we got through that first year, and I put a vision up on the wall for the women and for the board and for community, and and it just took off, and that was just so much fun to help take Thistle Farms to a new level that they never thought was possible, and to bring in thousands and thousands of people a year through the doors and have them fall in love with the mission by this robust, thriving cafe and new storefront, and it was a blast.
Wow, the passion was there. That was how many years?
I was there 7 years.
Okay. And then ding, ding, ding,
ding, ding, ding, ding, ding. Yeah, voice within. 7 years, I knew, okay, I've done what I was brought here to do. It's in great shape financially. We just had built another new home. Sales were rising. They need a new leader to take it to another level. I need to move on. And I just knew it was time to move on. And it was hard, but it was also rewarding and leaving when you're going to be missed. And while you're,
Right.
We've all had those bosses like, are they ever going to leave? I wasn't going to be that person. And so I left with a lot of gratitude and love in my heart for that place. And I drive by and I still choke up.
Aww.
Because it means so much. Yeah.
And then I think the mayor's race was calling.
It was,
Cato, mayor
yeah,
of
there were a lot of
Nashville.
people. It was, Nashville was at this point, all the growth, all the tourism, all the building, but where are we going as a city, and folks started talking to me about, a mayoral run and bringing my experience working both in the business and the nonprofit sector and a passion for people to bring that into the public sphere and through elected office. And it kind of, I'll be honest, it intrigued me. And so I left Thistle Farms, spent 4 months really like doing a deep dive. We did, commissioned a poll. I had a campaign staff starting to be built. I was 2 weeks from launching a campaign.
Wow, it's a serious
It was happening.
business.
Yeah, I got a couple thousand stickers at home that say "Hal Cato for mayor."
Ah.
But I woke up one night and I realized you're doing this for the wrong thing.
What is the wrong thing?
When you're running because other people think it's a good idea, but you're not so convinced yourself.
Okay, be true to yourself.
To thine own self be true.
Right.
And anytime I have not been true to myself, I've gotten in trouble. And so I decided not to run for mayor. People got it, they understood. And there were great candidates. I knew everybody who was planning to run, and so I knew that the city was going to be in good shape and that there were other people running that I could get behind. And about that time is when the Community Foundation board reached out to me and said, would you consider coming in and talking to us about being the new CEO?
The nonprofit world again. Yes.
which is really moving to, it's like the top of the press box of the nonprofit world, because community foundation is sort of the ultimate connector between government and philanthropy and individual donors and nonprofits. And, it's amazing how many things just in 1 week I'm a part of. Whether it's affordable housing, early childhood. Like today was affordable housing, then it was a conversation around mental health and policing, then it was a meeting around early childhood, then it was a conversation around disaster response for the city moving forward. So that's today. So every day is like that, and it's exhausting, but it's also exciting too, to be able to bring 31 years of experience and relationships into this new arena.
Yes, and the funding is there to help other entities, other nonprofits.
Yes, I mean, we are there to align, but not only to make grants to nonprofits doing good work, but to also help align funding from individuals who have funds at the Community Foundation, as well as pool funds with other foundations as well. So it's a complicated, I call it an octopus, because there are 8 arms, and every arm is working on something different.
Yes. That's a whole show in itself, and
we'll come back and do that show.
We'll have to come back, and on a personal level, I know 7 years ago you got married. Your spouse is an entrepreneur, headed up the entrepreneur.
Yeah, founded the Entrepreneur Center.
Yes.
Yeah, so yes, his name is Michael Burcham, and we met when I was at Oasis Center. I was actually about to leave Oasis Center, and he's a business professor at Vanderbilt, and brought a group of business students over to do a project for the Oasis Center to help us figure something out, and we got to be friends, and the rest is history.
The rest is history, and you have bonus grandchildren through that, and also through the Oasis Center. You've walked people down the aisle. There's a whole family part that we haven't really even touched on.
Yeah, well, I don't give up on people. When I meet people that I see something special, they're not clients to me. They're folks who just need to feel cared about. So I haven't been afraid to, stay in some relationships with young people who are clients or and just be that loving presence for them.
And be there, because you saw them way back when, and helping them.
There's this thing, communities change when people change, and people change when they feel cherished. And so my job is to help people feel cherished.
Wow. And when you think of the corporate world, you don't usually use the word cherish.
No, you don't.
But that's kind of
You don't, but you know what? Thistle Farms has built a thriving multi-million-dollar business based upon 2 words: love heals. And so it's there.
Wow.
Love is good business.
Love is good business. Wow. Well, Hal, you have been a marvelous interviewee, and I look forward to us having a second show to learn more. But thank you, Hal Cato.
Thank you.
Thank you, Transitions, Body, Mind, Spirit. Bye. There we go.
That was good.
Bravo.
That was fast, but we got through.
It's at 3 o'clock exactly.
Okay, that is perfect. We got through it.
I knew you'd have to race out of here.
Yeah.
We got to take your microphone off.
Yeah.